very difficult days and weeks and months because Russia, the country that invaded Ukraine, was the number one oil exporter of the world. And now we are seeing a significant amount of Russian oil is disappearing from the market, and we do not see quickly another country will replace Russian oil. Unfortunately, we don't see increases, or there is a convincing expectation of an increase from key producing countries up to now, while on the other hand, towards summer, we may see demand to increase further because of the driving season starting in North America and in this part of Europe. So we may well see still some high prices and volatility. The only positive factor, a big positive factor I can say, if the Chinese economy remains weak as a result of the lockdown restrictions, China being a major oil importer, if as a result Chinese oil imports is much weaker than before, this may provide some comfort to the markets.
Well, that's interesting. A weak China is good as far as the oil markets are concerned. But you talked about how you don't see demand replacement anytime soon, and you expect demand to pick up because of summer. Let me ask you what that will mean in terms of further price hikes from here. You also warned oil producers, saying that they need to act more responsibly, or the world is likely to go into a recession. How real is that concern? And as far as prices are concerned, what is the floor and what could be the upside from here?
So we are going to get some oil production increase from United States, from Canada, from Brazil, a few other countries. But I expect this oil, these volumes will come to the markets mainly in the second half of the year, and they are not big enough to replace the declining Russian oil production. We expect Russian oil production second half of this year to decline about 3 million barrels per day, which is more or less 30% of original Russian production levels. So if the other producers do not increase the production, we may well see some high prices, further high prices, volatility, and this will push the inflation up around the world, especially in the oil importing countries, and within the oil importing countries, especially this is bad news for the oil importing developing countries. And my worry is with these high oil prices, together with the high natural gas prices, high food prices, our weak economic growth expectations may move towards a risk of a recession.
So you feel that a risk of a recession is real now, given the inflation that we are seeing across energy as well as the food markets?
Yes, there is a definitely a significant risk for a recession, but we are not yet there. We will see whether or not the banks, the central banks, will be able to provide some response to that. Whether or not we will see some producers, oil producers, will see the risk, this global risk, and become more responsive and more responsible. And as a result, we may well avoid this recession risk.
But are you seeing oil producers being more responsive? I mean, whether it's the energy minister from India or others here in Davos making a pitch to oil producers saying act responsibly, you're saying pretty much the same. Any indication of a positive response so far?
I think Energy Petroleum Minister of India, Minister Puri, summarized it just perfectly. It is in the interest of everybody that the key producers who are able to bring oil to the markets in a very short period of time need to move. If they do not move and give this or that excuse, the world may well face huge economic and energy security challenges.
The impact of the sanctions on Russia, and especially the transition map that the EU has drawn up, a very aggressive one, how likely is it that this will eventually happen by the end of 2022?
I think the EU has a aggressive, as you call it, aggressive policy, but this was put together as a response to the aggression of Russia invading Ukraine, and every country is free to trade with this country or that country, and many Europeans have thought that Russia is using energy as a weapon, and as a result they want to reduce their reliance in fact over-reliance on Russia, and this will definitely have impacts on the market, but I believe Russian oil will find other buyers, but at least two disadvantages for Russia. One of them is they have to sell the oil at a cheaper price, and the second, the Russian oil going to Europe with the tankers last 4 or 5 days, whereas when it goes to Asia, you need about 2 months. So there will be some logistical problems as well.
Do you believe that this is going to accelerate the transition towards green energy across the world, including, of course, in Europe, given the fact that these sanctions are now in place? Do you see the acceleration taking place, and what will the implications of that possible acceleration be?
I think it will depend on if the governments are going to be able to use this as a turning point for energy policy making. But I have rarely seen the combination of economics, energy security or national security, and the climate commitments. These three factors coming together, it's a very powerful combination, and it may well give a strong momentum of energy policy change and looking at the much more secure and cleaner options, ranging from renewable energy to nuclear power, from nuclear power to have trade with some reliable partners.
So at this point in time, you leave Davos a more worried man than you were before you got here?
No, I am still worried before today and I guess tomorrow because the issue is in Europe. You mentioned the situation is not very bright, but I am more worried about developing nations.
The impact on India?
India, definitely strong impact on India, but also other Asian countries. You see the situation in Bangladesh. You could look at Africa. People don't talk about Africa here, but many African countries, sub-Saharan African countries, they are suffering under high energy prices, high food prices, and also a huge inflation. So we have to think about them, and it is one of the main reasons why I'm so worried.
Fatih Birol, thanks very much. We hope that the dark clouds lift and we finally see the sun, though you're not very hopeful of that, but appreciate you joining us here in Davos. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, we will take a break here, but a lot more continues from our coverage from Davos 2022. Come back to us. We'll be back in a moment.